All right. Chopping on the ASRX is one of the most easiest, most enjoyable, most memory efficient processes that I've probably seen, to be honest, on a sampler. It's really too quick. It's one of the redeeming features about the ASRX, seeing that there's so much wrong with it. Anyway, what we're going to do now is a beat breakdown that's going to break down this simple boom bap beat, but we're also going to look at the chops and my method for, it's not even a method, but the way I put together chops, and you guys know I don't chop very often. Anyhow, so let's start. Simple beats, simple elements, and all the sounds in here are internal. So this is just the kick and the snare riding, really almost a West Coast 1-2 type beat. And next I'm bringing in the hi-hat. Hi-hat's from another kit. And you can notice the drums are kind of dirty. Like, now that I'm listening to it, I never really noticed, but for a drum machine, the internal sounds on the ASRX, it sounds pretty dirty. Like, you don't usually hear kits that sound this raw. But anyhow, the hi-hat again is just almost like a metronome. And lastly, just a bass note from one of the many bass patches in the ASRX. So everything is internal. And for me, I'm not used to that. Like, usually when I'm making something, it's usually completely from scratch. And next is the actual sample, so we'll play that. Now it's a pitched down, chopped up sample. And as you can hear, the sample is completely relying on the rhythm of the beat. It's one of those cases where I started with the beat first and made the sample match. So that's what you're hearing now. Alright, so now that we got the beat and the main sequence out of the way, let's check out the sample a little bit and how I chopped it down. Basically, there's a video of this beat that I posted years back when I made this beat, and you can hear all the details about the sample and stuff like that back then. But for now, let's break down the chops, and I'll attempt to play them back manually the way I did it back then. But essentially what I like to do is make the chops run into each other. I don't want you to really hear the actual chop points too much. You know, I don't mind. It's not like I'm trying to hide it, but I kind of like my chop style to flow. So that was the A part of the song, and I did work up a B section, and we're going to listen to that now just for variety. Like, linear beats are good as long as you're developing them on the way, but if you have a loop just running forever, it's really hard to do that because the loop has to be really good, like impeach the president good, for you to like just listen to it indefinitely. And I don't think this beat is there yet. So we got a B section. All right, so this one's a little bit more involved because there's just more chops involved. So right now we're going to listen to memory providing. I can remember how I did it, and oh well, I've practiced it a couple times, so you'll hear me play it back. But anyway, let's go. Yeah. Hard to remember, hard to bring these things back, but essentially having your chops run into each other gives the end sample a chance of sounding like a sample on its own. I mean, you could spend time to make it sound completely seamless. If you put in that work, it'll be really difficult to tell even that it's chopped in the first place. But chops have an aesthetic to them that you kind of want to show that it's a chop because it does sound good. And an additional key to having your chops sound smoother is to play them off the rhythm. So if you're chopping on like a, you know, like this, like a 4-bar beat, have your chops run quicker, like on the 8th notes or on the 16th notes or in between or even 3/4 time, so the chops don't hit on rhythm, so they don't seem so obvious. Generally, these are things that make your music stand out without having to do too much. Not to mention, it's just plain old fun. Anyway, thank you for listening. If you liked and learned something today, subscribe to me here on YouTube and take yourself on down to thedaydreamsound.com. Engage the notification button to stay caught up on all sampler education and technology. I will see you on the next one. And in the meantime, take care of yourself. Peace.